In 2009, police were called after 3 KFC employees were found seemingly hysterical, completely naked, and urinating on each other outside of the restaurant.
You need to remove your bra and your underwear right now.
Okay.
The same year, a hotel worker in Kentucky notifies authorities after being tricked into drinking a man's urine by a mysterious caller.
And how does it taste, man?
It's horrible.
I want you to understand the fact, man, that you just drank that man's urine.
Months later, an elderly man destroys his motel room after being convinced a, quote, little person was inside the walls.
The caller also convinced the guest that there was a little person barricaded in the room next door, so the guest started breaking through the wall.
What do these bizarre and seemingly criminal incidents have to do with one another? They were all allegedly work of a notorious network of internet trolls and cybercriminals from a bygone era. Work of Pranknet. Pranknet, as the name suggests, was a collective of prank callers led by an arguable psychopath. This group committed elaborate and often criminal pranks against the innocent everyday members of society, from fast food workers to hotel guests and everything in between. Today we'll be revisiting the carnage this group wreaked around the United States throughout the late 2000s, as I tell you the stories behind some of their most heinous pranks and how the group was eventually taken out by the combined pressure of law enforcement and investigative journalists. These pranks aren't just cruel, they're worse than you can possibly imagine. This is the story of Pranknet. Pranknet, or sometimes referred to as Prank University, was created by an at the time anonymous internet user from Canada known as Dex. Dex began publishing pranks to the web in the early 2000s, but his work with Pranknet truly rose to prominence around 2008, after Dex began regularly broadcasting his calls to the Pranknet community, with hundreds of fans interacting and giving suggestions to him live in an IRC chat room. Despite its somewhat mean-spirited purpose, Pranknet was truly novel for the time, and it would be accurate to say that Dex and his crew were some of the first live streamers on the internet with a loyal audience. While initial pranks proved to be more in line with what you might expect, as 2009 rolls around, Dex and his gang begin to show their true colors, as activity coming from Pranknet goes from mean-spirited to downright unbelievably insane and in some cases criminal.
Well, it was clear that something was up when a witness saw a woman standing in the doorway of that Kentucky Fried Chicken at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, naked.
Enter one of Pranknet's most cruel and mind-bogglingly complex pranks. A prank that not only had 3 KFC employees butt naked in the freezing cold urinating on each other in front of police, but made national news headlines. This isn't an exaggeration. What you're about to hear really happened.
That is a lethal toxic chemical, and that can kill you. You're gonna have to remove your shirt, Mary. Those pants are gonna have to come off. Ask her if she's able to pee on her arm.
The date is February 26, 2009. A Pranknet user with a hammed-up British accent, along with Dex, posing as KFC corporate, make a call to the KFC Fried Chicken restaurant located on Daniel Webster Highway in Manchester, New Hampshire. Their initial goal? To trick an employee into thinking there was an issue with their Ansel fire suppression system and then have them set it off and spray everywhere, set off the sprinklers basically.
What we need for you to do now, madam, is to pull to Ansel fire suppression system to reset the system.
I've got to talk to my boss before I do that.
Okay, madam, I must tell you, this is the corporate head office of KFC. Okay, so my authority does override any rights that your manager may or may not give at this moment in time. You are actually working right now illegally because you have no fire suppression system in the kitchen. If we can't get this sorted now, we're going to have to close down the store.
The worker, who identifies herself as Sonia, pushes back against the request. But then Dex joins the call using the fake name Mr. Anderson.
Sonia, this is Jeff Anderson. If there's a fire that breaks out and you, being a KFC employee, unable to perform the right procedures in the event of a fire, it could pretty much mean that you're out of a job.
Sonia finally complies with the supposed KFC corpos and pulls the pin, thinking that it's going to reset the system. But as you might expect, the system just starts spraying everywhere. And of course, the pranksters act surprised by this, as if it wasn't their intention all along.
I got
Ma'am, what's
chemicals
happening?
coming out of my ceiling.
Is any of the chemicals touching your skin, ma'am?
No. Go
Okay,
on.
calm down.
Is it stopping, ma'am?
No, it's not stopping.
Okay, ma'am, just remain calm. Okay, ma'am, that is not supposed to happen.
Stuff's coming out of the squirty things.
So while things had been pretty silly up to this point in the call, things quickly get more disturbing. Dex, as Mr. Anderson, moves into phase 2 of the prank, informing the girls that the chemical that was sprayed by the Ansel system is actually dangerous and potentially lethal if touched or inhaled.
Okay, ma'am, you need to get away from that right now. Is it still coming out?
No, it's not still coming out.
That is a lethal toxic chemical, and that can kill you. Now, where exactly did it get on you?
Kidding me? Did it get anywhere on your face? No, just her arms.
It's on her hands. Dean, it's on her hands. That's a 501 code.
They really start hamming it up here. Like, the British guy gets so into it that he momentarily forgets the corporate office that he's trying to impersonate.
Okay, ma'am, I need you to remain calm and stay on the phone and listen to the instructions the personnel are going to give you here from head office corporate Burger King, okay?
So now Sonia is convinced by them, and she starts the process of evacuating the store, yelling out an evacuation order to the many confused customers that were eating inside of the restaurant.
You need to declare the store unsafe.
We have to close our store. We just had our Ansel system go off, and we have to clear
That's
everything
one-
up before we can serve anybody. All right?
Yeah, louder, ma'am, please, louder.
For
I'm sorry,
documentation
we have to
purposes.
close our store. I need everybody to exit. I hereby declare this store unsafe.
The employee touched by the Ansel spray, who goes by the name Faye, was also convinced to shout out an evacuation notice.
The store is unsafe, and we're now shutting the store down.
So at this point in the prank, all three women working at the KFC, Sonia, Faye, and another woman named Mary, are outside of the KFC in the cold weather, and the pranksters are telling them that a hazmat team is on the way to decontaminate them. This is where the pranksters really start to focus in on Faye and her direct skin contact to the supposedly deadly chemical. In order to protect herself from chemical burns, she was going to have to start taking off some clothes. At least that's what the corpos on the phone were saying. Also, so you don't get confused, they do refer to Faye a few times as a man, but it is a girl and they eventually figure it out.
Do you feel nauseous?
No.
Is any part of your skin burning?
No.
Are you burning anywhere on your arms or on your skin?
No, not right now.
Okay,
Okay.
that process is a slow process. Are you wearing the KFC uniform?
Yes, I am.
You need to remove your shirt right now, sir, please. What is Faye doing right now?
She's taking her shirt off.
Okay, is Faye a woman, or?
Yes.
I'm really worried for you right now because I don't want anything to happen to you, and this was not supposed to happen.
You're
You need to
scaring
take
me.
off-
So with Faye being convinced to strip naked because of a relatively harmless bit of Ansel spray barely touching her arm, now the pranksters start to say that Sonia was infected too because of the airborne qualities of the spray. So they start having her strip down, remove the supposedly contaminated clothes.
Did you say that Sonia also got it on her hands?
Did you get sprayed, Sonia? She said no, but she breathed it in.
Oh my god, okay, she's gonna have to remove her shirt as well.
And she subsequently does exactly that.
Hello, Sonia.
Yeah.
This is a very serious situation. Have you removed your shirt?
Yep, I'm doing it right now.
The pranksters then start issuing a volley of more undressing commands, undressing Faye and Sonia piece by piece until both of them are completely naked other than their shoes.
Okay, Faye, now, did you remove your shirt and pants?
Yes, I did.
Now, is there an undershirt that you're still wearing?
Yes, there is.
Okay, that
Do I
needs to
take
come
that
off,
off?
Faye. What are you still wearing, ma'am?
Pants and a bra.
Those pants, as I said to you earlier, they need to come off.
It's so cold out here.
If your undershirt is off, your pants are off. Now, Sonia, are you wearing any sort of undergarment like a bra?
Yeah.
You're gonna have to remove that bra, Sonia.
Are you kidding me?
Unfortunately, we have this urgent emergency situation I have to deal with. We need you to remove that bra immediately. as well as Faye. We don't want this to eat through your clothes.
So with Faye and Sonya now naked, the pranksters enter the final phase of their disturbing act, explaining that in order to remove the chemical agent entirely, they would have to pee on each other's skin in an effort to neutralize it like a jellyfish sting, is how they described it.
Ask her if she's able to pee on her arm.
Alright.
The urine contains a concentration of acid that's going to dissolve and deactivate the toxin that's on her arm. Now, Faye, I need you to remain calm. I need you to be strong for me, okay? Have you ever been stung by a jellyfish? Do you understand the protocol when you're stung by a jellyfish?
I'm not familiar with it, no.
Okay, now when you're stung by a jellyfish, you have to urinate on the part where you're stung. It's going to start to create a rash and eat out your skin unless you slow the process down. That's why you need to urinate on your arm right now.
I can try.
Hello, Sonya. Now what is happening with Faye?
He's going around the corner, trying to urinate.
Okay. It doesn't matter where the urine's coming from as long as it's just urine. Now, if she can't do it, would you be willing to do it for her, to be a good friend, and to help save her life?
Faye returns to the phone and confirms she pissed on her own arm. The pranksters then say that wouldn't be enough and that Sonya has to pee on her too. And they do it.
Hello?
Hello, Faye.
Oh, I got a little bit.
Okay, now,
I
what you're going to do is
rubbed it all
ask Sonya. Tell Sonya to come over there, and you're going to have to get her to do it right now. Stay on the phone.
On me?
Put your arm out under her vagina right now, and just let it run down on your arm.
Okay, at this point, I would ask you just to push out very slowly, so you can massage it into the skin.
Was she able to pee?
She peed a little. I mean, I got enough for my hands.
So as Faye is getting peed on by Sonya, at this point it's revealed that the third employee, a woman named Mary, actually briefly stepped inside the KFC while this phone call was going on. And upon hearing this, the KFC employees act like they're freaked out about this and say that now Mary has to strip down and get peed on.
Mary, I'm really sorry about this. You're going to have to remove your shirt, Mary. Please. You need to remove your bra and your underwear right now.
Okay.
It's at this point that police arrive, and the pranksters instruct the girls to yell at the cops, telling them not to come close because they're toxic and contaminated. They don't want to spread it.
Are they almost here? Because now the police have showed up.
Okay, now you need to tell them to stay away.
Stay
They
away.
are there. Tell them that you have a chemical on your body and that you're naked and that they need to stay away.
They're away right now.
Tell the officer that if he comes near you, then he's going to have to get naked as well, and we don't want that to happen.
We had a chemical spray in our store.
We contacted the police because the hazmat crew still hasn't arrived yet. So what you need to do is don't get too close. Just come at least like 10 feet away from the officer and ask him to please urinate on your hand.
I'm going to have Mary do it, actually. Mary, I need you to pee on me.
So now the fire department is on the scene as well, and it's at this point where the prankster asks to speak to one of these firemen, pulling the gaslight of the century in the process. Dex switches his entire persona and tells the firefighter that he's a concerned friend of Sonya and that he just called and the girls were hysterical when they picked up the phone, acting like he has no idea what's going on despite him being the cause of all this.
I'm Michael from the Manchester Fire Department.
Okay.
We're trying to find out the sprinkler itself.
Well, I'm just trying to find out what's going on from my friend Sonya because she called me up saying she's naked. I'm just really concerned about her.
I am sitting right here with her.
It's around this point that this nearly 1 hour and 20-minute diabolical prank call comes to a close. The women were sent to the hospital to be cleared medically, and after telling their side of the story to the authorities, they finally come to the crushing realization that they had been taken for a wild ride by a degenerate group of pranksters. The local community was left baffled by this insane prank situation, and news agencies in the area would report on the aftermath, with all involved scratching their heads, totally unaware that Pranknet was the culprit.
Good morning, Aaron. They followed those instructions because they thought the phone call was coming from the KFC Corporation. It was not, and now as a result, the store is temporarily closed.
3 employees at the KFC on Daniel Webster Highway in Manchester were left out in the cold, wrapped in blankets, huddled in emergency vehicles. Police say they were the victims of a dangerous prank that left them undressed and coated with chemicals.
As you might expect, the sheer complexity of this disgusting prank and the fact that the media covered it was very much pleasing to Dex and the Pranknet posse. The KFC prank would be referred to by Pranknet as one of their ultimate pranks, an unofficial category which I can only describe as a collection of their more elaborate and heinous calls, many of which involving police intervention. Police who at this point in time seemed totally at a loss for the source of these diabolical prank calls that continued to cause problems. Which brings us to another of one of Pranknet's most notorious deeds and our next call. The Homewood Suites urine drinking incident. A Pranknet call that left a victim drinking piss and a man thinking that they may have been infected with hepatitis.
Bring a urine sample to the front desk. We're going to need to say, hello, hi, here's the apple cider. Okay.
On July 20th of 2009, a prank call was set up by a Pranknet user simply going by the name Prankster on the website. The call began with the prankster dialing the Homewood Suites Inn, located on Rousseau Way in Lexington, Kentucky. He was then connected to the phone in room 206, where a male hotel resident would answer. The start of the call begins with the hoaxer informing the resident that he's a hotel administrator, and he tells the resident that they have a bit of a problem. The person that stayed in this room before you, buddy, well, they had hepatitis C and we didn't clean the room all the way, so we think that you may have been exposed to it and you could have it. Despite Hep C being a bloodborne illness, but whatever.
Look, we have a slight problem in the hotel right now. One of the guests that stayed in your room before you did, apparently they had hepatitis C, and our maids did not properly clean the rooms. And we're afraid that you may have contracted the disease from staying in the room and touching the objects in the room.
This fraudulent hotel administrator then requested that the tenant take one of their courtesy water cups into the bathroom and urinate into it, and then bring the cup to the front desk so it could be tested by a, quote, hotel doctor.
And so what we're going to need you to do, ma'am, is we have a doctor down here in the front desk in the back office, ma'am. Do you know the courtesy cups in the bathroom? We're going to need a urine sample from you, ma'am. In order for the doctor to test to make sure there's no signs of hepatitis C in your system.
The resident, who oddly enough seemed rather calm during this whole ordeal, bought the proposition hook, line, and sinker and complies with the request. The resident is told to bring their piss-filled cup to the front desk and give it to the clerk, and then use a code phrase, "Here's the apple cider." The explanation for the code phrase being so you don't alarm other tenants in this hotel about the Hep C situation and cause a panic.
So just come to the front desk.
Yes, ma'am. Bring a urine sample to the front desk. And when you come down here, don't say, here's the urine sample or anything like that, because then people down in the front lobby would be wondering.
Gotcha.
What we're going to need you to say, ma'am, is we're going to need you to say, this is a code word for it. We're going to need you to say, hello, hi, here's the apple cider. Okay.
Now, as the tenant was bringing a small cup of what he thought might be an infected batch of piss down, the prankster begins the second part of his hoax, and that's where things get unimaginably disgusting. So now with the piss cup en route downstairs, prankster calls the front desk of the hotel, where a cheerful female hotel clerk answers.
Good morning, thanks for calling Homewood Suites by Hilton Lexington. Janet, may I help you?
With this woman now in his clutches, the prank caller explains to her that he's an employee of the Martinelli's Apple Cider Company, and one of their employee representatives was staying at the hotel, and he wanted the desk clerk to try the cider.
Hi, Janet. My name is Jamie Taylor. I'm calling on behalf of Martinelli's Cider Company. We have one of our employees staying in your hotel right now, ma'am. He's bringing apple cider down to the front desk right now for you, Janet. And once he gives you the cider, ma'am, just send him back up to his front desk. And I want you to stay on the phone with me because I'm going to do a quick survey. We're going to get you to taste the cider, and we're going to ask you exactly how you like the taste and if it tastes all right for you, ma'am, okay?
The clerk didn't seem as gullible as the first guy and was initially pretty skeptical towards the individual on the phone. She asked more questions and the caller adequately answers them, calming her skepticism.
And what's the name of the company?
Martinelli's.
How do you spell that?
Martinellis.
Okay, I've got it.
It's at this fateful moment that the original victim arrives at the front desk and hands off the piss-filled cup to the desk clerk, who thinks it's apple cider. The piss cup is handed over and the woman prepares to try it.
Here he comes.
Okay, go ahead and just take the cider and send him back up to his room.
You're sure there's no poison in this?
I'm sure, ma'am.
And now, the moment of truth. The disgusting prank comes to fruition, and the clerk drinks the urine cider.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, ma'am, go ahead and take a good little gulp like you were drinking cider.
Yeah.
Okay, and how does it taste, ma'am?
Horrible.
It's horrible?
That does not taste like...
Try another sip, ma'am.
No, I'm not going to take another sip. That's horrible.
Ma'am, please, when you take another sip, ma'am, it may have been like an aftertaste or something.
No, I can't take any more of that.
The call ends with the Pranknet members laughing hysterically and berating the hotel clerk, calling her a bunch of names. Another horrible prank completed.
I want you to understand the fact, ma'am, that you just drank that man's urine. You just drank Mr. Cartel's urine. You just drank this, you dumb bitch. She drank this. She fucking did it.
The sick degenerates at Pranknet had successfully pulled off yet another criminal prank and harmed an innocent victim in the process. The hotel would notify police over this extremely disturbing matter. Cops would comment on this bizarre call, calling it criminal, in fact. They described it as first-degree wanton endangerment, which is considered a Class D felony in the state of Kentucky. The Pranknet call also prompted a statement from Homewood Suites as well. Quote, an incident did occur at this property on July 20th involving a prankster, a guest, and an employee of this hotel. We immediately notified the local authorities who are currently investigating the incident as a first-degree felony. As a health precaution, the employee sought medical attention and is completing a course of antibiotics. Pranks such as this are becoming more prevalent throughout the hospitality industry, and we're taking additional measures to prevent these types of incidents from happening again. The urine drinking incident sparked by Pranknet made national headlines, and news media would comment on the situation, in a way giving the pranksters the satisfaction that they wanted.
A group of men who gather on the chat site pranknet.org are wreaking havoc across the country, but the prank they pulled on a hotel clerk July 20th here in Lexington may be the most disturbing yet.
Well, Chris, everything went perfect for the Texas man who wanted to play a little joke on an unsuspecting hotel clerk at the Homewood Suites in Lexington.
I think it's repulsive, it's mean-spirited, and it's really kind of the worst part of what the internet provides people.
Pranknet would continue their rampage, unleashing a wave of smaller-scale pranks throughout 2009 and 2010, many of which targeted hotel employees and hotel residents. In one prank, they convinced a man that his room was filled with deadly poisonous spiders and that the tenant had to bust the hotel window open to get them out.
We had one other room do this already.
I done broke this window out. I don't know who playing these type of game, but the call came from you.
Another time, Pranknet manipulated an elderly man into destroying a wall in a hotel after claiming, quote, a midget, unquote, was trapped in the next room.
We have an emergency in room 107. We have a crazy maniac man. He's throwing out TVs, busting up walls and everything. Can you please have someone here?
According to an incident report, a 73-year-old guest in room 107 was asleep when the phone rang. The caller claimed to be hotel management and convinced the guest to throw the TV outside and break all the mirrors in order to get rid of cameras planted by a previous guest. The caller also convinced the guest that there was a little person barricaded in the room next door and that he needed to help police get to him, so the guest started breaking through the wall.
In another, a Pranknet caller, which sounds to be Dex himself, tricks a man into setting off the sprinkler system in his hotel. The subsequent flooding can be heard through the phone's receiver.
Okay, sir, we have an emergency situation going on. Apparently, we have a malfunction with some of the sprinkler systems. Are you able to get onto the bed and reach the sprinkler system? Yeah. So what you're going to do is you're going to basically knock that out, that metal tube. That's going to deactivate the sprinkler system.
So okay, so reach up in there and
yes,
pop it out?
Yes.
In an unrelated incident, a video purportedly taken by a Pranknet user was published, which showed video of a hotel flooding, presumably thanks to one of Pranknet's schemes. While we're still on the topic of hotels, I'd like to transition from these sillier incidents to one of Dex's most disturbed calls. A call that left an innocent woman and her cousin terrified for their lives. This is the Pranknet gas leak hoax.
Hurry, do it! God damn it! Let it out! Hurry, Mo, do it! Hurry, all of it! More of it, more!
Do you want that TV to explode? I don't give a fuck what happens to your whole motherfucking place. I'm walking out of here. Die tonight, because that's what's going to happen if you don't listen to what I'm trying to tell you.
Near midnight on February 19th, 2009, at a Best Western in Santee, California, Dex and a Pranknet associate were connected to room 208, where a woman answered the phone. When asked if she was alone in the room, the woman replied that it was just her and her cousin.
The pranksters then deploy their ruse. The hotel was experiencing a potentially lethal leak of highly flammable gas.
Can you unplug the television and anything that's like the coffee pot? If you have a microwave, yeah, because that holds electric charge, and we do not want an explosion to occur.
When she begins to comply, the prankster starts up an elaborate social engineering tactic,
where he pretends to be speaking to the fire department on the phone at the same time as her, which made the situation seem legitimate.
Jonathan Davis here. Yes. Are you kidding me? 2 of them. Well, we're going to be here soon. Hurry up. Oh my God. You want her to do that? Yeah, that's fine with me. I'll pay for it. Yeah.
Once she was totally convinced of the gas leak ruse, they commanded her to start smashing out windows,
explaining that they had to let fresh air into the room.
Ma'am, you need to get a 5-foot by 8-foot section bust out the window, get fresh air in that room right now.
Panicking, the woman recruits her cousin to start busting out windows in this hotel room.
Bust the window out! Hurry! Hurry, bust the window out!
An audible crash can be heard, after which the woman yells out.
Okay, it's out, it's out, it's out! It's out! It's busted!
Oh, the whole thing, ma'am. Keep clearing it.
The whole thing, keep crashing it. Hurry! Hurry, do it! God damn it! Bust it out! Hurry, Mo, do it!
Audibly, you can hear the cousin smashing more stuff, windows, what have you.
Hurry, all of it! More of it, more!
Hurry, ma'am, hurry, urgent!
Run, do it now!
The poor woman becomes distraught, begging to get out of the room.
I want to get out of this room.
You guys creating that airflow is definitely helping the situation right now.
But then things would get even more worrying as Dex told the woman that even though all of the windows were apparently smashed, she now needed to take out the television as well.
Now, is the TV unplugged?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, good. Now, that TV holds an electric charge. So you need to get the shower curtain rod or an iron or a chair, and you need to aim for center screen and break the glass.
When requested to do so, it sounds like the cousin in the background balked back at the command.
Do the TV.
I'm not breaking nothing.
He won't do it. He won't do it for me. He won't.
Do it, ma'am. Someone has to step up and do it, ma'am.
Get out.
Hey, what's going on here? And you walk your fucking ass down here and handle it.
Do you want that TV to explode?
I don't give a fuck what happens to your whole motherfucking place. I'm walking out of here.
Die tonight, because that's what's going to happen if you don't listen to what I'm trying to tell you.
By this point in the call, the room looks like a tornado had run through it, and the victims finally start to realize that they may be getting played.
What's this guy in? What's wrong?
I want to get out of this room, please.
Things get a bit confusing here as it sounds like another person from outside shows up in the room. The woman begs them to break it and they refuse.
Come here, break this TV screen with that iron. Come here and do it for us.
Eventually, the woman leaves to argue with the other guest and the pranksters begin to talk amongst themselves.
We're going to transfer. She's too frantic. We got to transfer her. Another room or crazy bitch in 208.
The sick call ends with Dex complaining that there's only 38 people watching his live stream.
Yeah, Kat, but the only shitty thing is that there's 38 people listening. So that's a reflection of how many people are actually paying attention out of 80 people in the room. So that kind of sucks.
In the aftermath, as cops appeared on the scene and questioned the tenants of room 208, the male cousin relayed the story and told police about the gas leak. This cousin, who was on parole at the time, was likely worried about going back to prison over some bullshit. You know, him destroying the room in a panic. So this man would agree to pay cash to the hotel in exchange for not getting charges pressed and arrested. While this prank isn't necessarily as bad as people peeing on each other or being tricked into drink urine, I find it particularly disturbing because of how audibly terrified the victims are, specifically the woman was, and how little Dex seems to care. The sheer insistence on continuing this call despite the rapidly spiraling woman, it takes a sick fuck to go through with something like this. And whining about the viewer count at the end of the call, it makes Dex look like a stone-cold psychopath. Dex and his gang had become increasingly reckless and sadistic with their calls. Innocent people were getting traumatized all around the United States. Things started to get out of hand. Which brings us to our final act, the downfall of Pranknet and its enigmatic leader, Dex. After an unknowable amount of successful pranking attacks, Pranknet had begun to gather a reputation in online circles, and the live calls were growing in popularity at the expense of the public. The members managed to remain anonymous and thus far unpunished, mostly thanks to the ignorance of legacy mainstream journalists and police. Investigators just couldn't seem to pin down who was behind these illegal pranks. But that would all change when small internet-based media outlet, The Smoking Gun, joins the fray. Founded by journalists William Bastone, Barbara Glauber, and Daniel Green, The Smoking Gun was known for exposing criminal acts through the use of legal documents, criminal records, and mugshots. And in 2009, this small group of journalists conducted a massive expose in what would inevitably result in the mischievous prank network's downfall. Curious as to the source of these internet pranks, The Smoking Gun dedicated a large portion of time into researching Pranknet. Under the guise of being online fans, the journalists infiltrated Pranknet's audience, and after recording and observing the methods of the group from the inside, they managed to connect 60 prank incidents to Pranknet. The most important discovery of their work was the identity of this online circus's ringmaster, Dex. The Smoking Gun would uncover Dex's identity using a rather devious tactic. So Dex highly valued his anonymity for obvious reasons, but he had a weakness in the sense that he wanted to be the center of attention. The guy had an insatiable urge for public infamy, and the Smoking Gun took advantage of this. They offered Dex an interview, one he would accept, and in it he would explain the reasoning behind why he did what he did. But it wasn't the interview itself that exposed Dex, it was actually something that transpired afterwards. You see, once the interview was published, Dex was very excited to read it. The Smoking Gun would provide him with a link to it. How accommodating of them. Being the narcissistic guy that he was, Dex eagerly clicked on the link to see what they had to say about him. But little did Dex know, that link had an IP grabber attached to it. As soon as Dex clicked the link from The Smoking Gun, the journalists had the guy's IP address. They knew where he was located, that area being Windsor in Ontario, Canada. The hard part was now over, as soon enough they would have Dex's specific location and residence. And soon they would have Dex's real name, that name being Tarek Malik. In their research, they discovered that Tarek was an isolated shut-in of sorts, staying on his computer all day and rarely leaving the house. Which, I gotta be honest, this is a complete shocker to me. You mean to tell me the guy who spends most of his time setting up online prank calls where he harasses hotel customers and fast food workers is terminally online? No fucking way! According to The Smoking Gun, Tarek's online alias Dex was inspired by the vigilante serial killer series Dexter and that character. The guy saw himself as an anti-hero of sorts and claimed he did his pranks to punish what he saw as the stupid people of society. Yeah, this guy was a complete fucking incel, basically. From here, The Smoking Gun learned that Dex had been pranking people for close to a decade and facilitated most of his calls using untraceable encrypted voice-over IP services, which were poorly understood by most people at the time of this story taking place. They also speculated that part of the reason Dex hadn't been caught yet was due to him living in Canada and him targeting almost exclusively American businesses, which created a jurisdictional nightmare for anyone who even wanted to consider prosecuting him. However, this jurisdictional loophole would not stop the smoking gun and their laser-focused sights that had been fixed on the telephone terrorist. On July 21, 2009, investigative journalists from the Smoking Gun, equipped with the man's home address, arrived at Dex's residence located on Assumption Street in Windsor, Ontario, a ramshackle ground-floor apartment. The reporters attempted to confront Tarek face-to-face, knocking on the door, but the man stayed hidden inside his apartment with his mother. In an effort to get them to leave, he even resorted to calling the police, which I can only imagine the reporters found a bit humorous given why they had come there. The cops would come and stepped inside Tarek's place for a short while. When they would eventually come back out, they simply informed the journalists that the man didn't want to talk, and with that, they left. They didn't get their confrontation, but in the grand scheme of things, this didn't matter. They already had everything they needed. Tarek's identity and his address had been found and confirmed, and it wouldn't be long before that identification was published online to the Smoking Gun's website and later broadcasted on Canadian news media.
He's 25 years old, lives in this ground floor apartment with his mother in Windsor's East End. And according to his landlord, he's a homebody. His name, Tarek Malik.
What do you know about the guy that lives in that apartment?
I don't know too much about him. He all the time in the room, I know that.
How do you know that?
Never go out.
The Smoking Gun, a New York City-based investigative website, alleges that Malik, or Dex as he's known online, is the mastermind behind Pranknet, an internet group that has orchestrated more than 100 outrageous telephone pranks over the last year.
The head of the operation was now being blown up in the press, but Smoking Gun wouldn't stop at just unmasking Dex. Soon they'd have the identity of several other prominent players within Pranknet, members like William Marquis, who went by the alias Hempster, and Sean Powell, a user on Pranknet known as Slipknot Psycho. And one of the most critical findings was 19-year-old James Tyler Markle, aka Prankster. James had participated alongside Dex in some of the more notorious pranks, which included the infamous hotel urine drinking prank from Lexington, Kentucky, where James Markle had convinced a hotel clerk to drink that guy's piss thinking it was apple cider. Yeah, this was the fucker that caused that. Markle would not only be exposed for his pranks, but for his sordid and perverted past as well. The Smoking Gun put this prankster on blast, reporting that back in 2005, James had been sentenced to serve 30 months in a youth detention center after pleading guilty to the sexual assault of a young girl that occurred back in 2004. And as you now know, years later, James participated in numerous Pranknet pranks and was now being punished for them. Markle would be arrested in 2009 after a stunt involving him convincing employees of a Lufkin, Texas McDonald's to activate the fire extinguishers and smash out windows. He was convicted of third-degree criminal mischief between $20,000 and $100,000, and in November of 2010 was sentenced to serve 5 years in prison, with most of his time being suspended. After prison, Markle actually spoke to the Smoking Gun and claimed he was remorseful for his actions. Although he was never arrested for his piss-drinking crime in Kentucky, he specifically apologized for convincing the hotel employee to drink the urine. He said he did what he did because he was trying to impress Tarek. Quote, "I was a puppy dog who chased after Dex," unquote. Later in 2017, Markle would be arrested again for failure to comply with a sexual registration charge, and that's about the last update regarding this guy. A man named Sean Powell was highlighted by the Smoking Gun as well, and is notable for being another arrested member specifically for Pranknet activity. In 2009, Sean was arrested for a prank call that he made on an Arby's location. When questioned by authorities, he admitted to being the culprit alongside, quote, "a large group who make prank calls via voice-over internet connections to hotels and restaurants," unquote. Sean added that he was, quote, "new to the game," and that this was the first restaurant he had called. Sean was reportedly charged with misdemeanor criminal mischief, narrowly avoiding a felony charge which requires $1,500 in damages. When the dust settled from Smoking Gun's inquisition into Pranknet, we find 2 people had been arrested and the operations leader had seemingly fallen off the face of the earth. Dex and Pranknet had been completely exposed, and people were calling for Tarek's arrest across the internet and in real life. In light of this, the man ceased his activities on Pranknet, likely fearing jail time, and slinked away into the shadows. For those of you hoping this man would face justice for his deeds, I hate to disappoint you, but he never truly would. Either because of jurisdictional issues or the feds simply not caring enough, Tarek, aka Dex, was never brought into custody or made to answer for his heinous actions perpetrated using Pranknet. He has essentially vanished since this scandal and the smoking gun exposing him. Sadly, the only people that had to reckon with this sick degenerate's actions were his victims. It's important to remember that Dex and his group targeted completely innocent people, many of which were hard-working service industry employees or weary travelers seeking respite in hotels. Hundreds of people were affected and were traumatized by this group. While it's easy to get lost in the spectacle of these prank calls, remember that the targets were real people. People's family members, friends, and loved ones who were just trying to get through their own daily grind and were selected at random to be harassed by a group of sociopaths. The people who fell victim to Pranknet deserve great sympathy. When researching this story, I was truly shocked by the depravity in these pranks. And not only that, I couldn't believe that the group was able to essentially get away with all of this without any major consequence. I think what truly made Pranknet possible was how novel making prank calls from the internet would have been at this time, using voice over IP services that almost no one was really familiar with. The police and investigators just didn't know where to look. This story is over a decade old, and I feel like it could serve as a cautionary tale for the future. In the world of streaming, clout chasing, and people doing anything for attention, I could foresee a time on the internet where vicious prank calls like this come back into fashion. I hope those of you who watch this video will call that out if it ever does, be it Discord groups or otherwise. While Dex may have gotten away with this, together we can make sure that other innocent people aren't harmed by newcomers to the scene. Thank you for watching. Well, you made it to the end. Let me know what you guys thought about this video down below in the comments section, and let me know who or what you want me to talk about next. I want to give a major shout out to my patrons. I appreciate you guys. Wavy Web Surf out. Peace.